More on those court challenges now. Here's Kermit Roosevelt, Professor of Law at the University of Pennsylvania. Kermit, welcome. So in terms of the legal challenges which have already been launched, and ultimately, I guess, any US Supreme Court challenge, what does Donald Trump want? Is he after a recount of the states he's lost, or does he want to stop votes being counted?
Well, he can try for a recount, but that's not necessarily going to do very much for him. You can recount in Wisconsin. Maybe that's going to shift the tally in his favor a little bit. But really what he needs to do is some sort of legal challenge that's going to invalidate a lot of the mail-in ballots, because the mail-in ballots skew very heavily towards the Democrats. That's one of the things that Trump sort of accomplished by telling his supporters to vote in person. So if he can invalidate those, he's got a path to victory.
So he's claiming voter fraud. Is there any evidence of that?
No, there isn't. And this is a persistent pattern in our elections. The Republicans tend to raise concerns about fraud, and they try to limit the votes that are counted, or they try to make it harder for people to vote. But there's very little evidence that there is actually a problem with the kind of fraud that they're asserting.
OK, so he's launched this legal action in the Supreme Court, or the courts in individual states. When might he go to the US Supreme Court, as he has said that he will?
He said that, and he said that he's appointed justices in order to make sure that there will be 9 there for the election. But he can't just start out in the Supreme Court. He'll have to start out in a trial court, either in a state or a federal court. And then there's an appellate process, and it could take quite a while for a case to get to the Supreme Court. And it might be clear by then that the margin is just too big for him to overcome. So I'm not sure that we will see the Supreme Court decide this issue in the end.
And would the Supreme Court necessarily hear any challenge, even if it made it that far?
Well, the Supreme Court wouldn't have to. I think if it does look like the election is going to be decided in court, the Supreme Court would like to be the court that does it. Ideally, of course, the courts stay out of it and the people have the last word. I think that some justices on the Supreme Court look back at Bush v. Gore and think that the court injured itself by deciding the election. On the other hand, 3 of the justices on the court now were on the Republican litigation team for Bush v. Gore. So Justice Roberts, Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Barrett.
How does that situation, Bush v. Gore, compare to what's happening in 2020?
Well, Bush v. Gore, I think, was a lot closer. So it came down to one state. That one state, Florida, was going to be decisive, and the margin in Florida was incredibly narrow. We've got very close states here. Nevada, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, maybe Georgia. A lot of them look close, but I don't think it's going to be on the order of a few hundred votes, which is what it was in Florida. And because there's more than one state, I think it's unlikely that Trump can find some way to just flip one switch and get victory.
And Kermit, how do these legal challenges fit into the whole framework of the US Constitution?
Well, it shows you, one of the things it shows you is the idiocy of the Electoral College, because if we were doing this in terms of a popular vote, it's pretty close, but it's clear that Biden won. And instead, we've got these states where things come down to maybe 10,000, maybe 20,000 votes. And there, with creative litigation, maybe you could make a difference. What's going on is also a consequence of the federal system. So you've got elections conducted in states. The states run them. The states set the rules. But then there are federal guidelines that sometimes can come in. And that's what Trump is probably looking for. He's going to try to make some argument about the federal Constitution.
All right, Kermit Roosevelt, thank you so much.
Thanks.